Commerce Alive Today presents
Ponderosa and Bonanza Steakhouses. The two restaurants began life separately but were both created with the classic TV series Bonanza in mind. On the show, the action took place at the Ponderosa Ranch, hence the restaurant branding. Unlike other chains with multiple marketing brands who only use one specific name in a given region like Checkers/Rallies, the Ponderosa and Bonanza are located in similar areas due to their separate origins. After 4 years of playing host on Bonanza, Dan Blocker created the first Bonanza Steakhouse, then called Bonanza Steak Pit, in Westport, Connecticut in early 1963. Westport, Connecticut, for any of you who may be interested, was the town that the Ricardos moved to in the final season of I Love Lucy. Lucy reference number 4317 here at YRM. Through good food and Blocker's fame, the chain began to proliferate. After 3 years, brothers Sam and Charles Wiley purchased the restaurant chain from the actor, who agreed to continue to make public relations appearances. The two brothers steadily grew the company to a peak of 600 locations in 1989 when they eventually sold the business. Meanwhile, in 1965, over in Kokomo, Indiana, Norm Wise and Dan Lassater opened the first Ponderosa Steakhouse. Dan Lassater was barely in his 20s when he started the chain with a fresh high school diploma and a few years of experience managing a McDonald's restaurant. Norm Wise had no restaurant experience as a lifelong car salesman. He did, however, own a crucial piece of real estate along a highway in Indiana that was well suited for their first location of a fast food hamburger restaurant named Scotty's. Eventually, after learning of the rapid success of the Bonanza, they jumped into the low-priced steak buffet business. Rather than just buy a Bonanza franchise, the two worked with their own concept, ultimately called the Ponderosa. Like the Bonanza, they featured a limited selection of steaks or seafood served with potatoes, salads, bread, beverages, desserts, and also have kids' food items. Cafeteria-style buffet service kept costs low, along with the use of lower-grade meat and liberal helpings of meat tenderizer enzymes. At the start, a basic dinner at the Ponderosa cost just $1.39. Granted, it was 1965, but still. They would even go on to buy their own beef processing farm to further cut costs. The folks over at the Bonanza didn't take kindly to the creation of a restaurant with a similar menu and same Western theme based on the same TV show. In a humorous story, Bonanza management, in an effort to stop the Ponderosa from growing, went out and trademarked the Ponderosa restaurant name. Except in the rush, they had forgotten to trademark their own name, which Dan Lassater of the Ponderosa immediately trademarked. Eventually, the two businesses agreed to swap trademarks and live and let live. Jack Rushman had been the largest franchisee of fast food chain Burger Chef when he joined in at the early stages of the Ponderosa. He took the chain into Ohio while Lassater and Wise expanded west into Illinois. Rapid expansion and multiplying sales eventually caused financial ruin for the company through unchecked management and failing supply chains. The Ponderosa turned to Gerald Office Jr., a 28-year-old attorney. Promoting him from general counsel to chairman and CEO, he turned the Ponderosa around, and by 1971 they recovered enough to warrant a new stock offering. Stock in Ponderosa soared from $3 per share in 1970 to $84 a share in 1972 when it surpassed Bonanza to become the nation's largest steak chain. They also moved their headquarters to Dayton, Ohio. The Ponderosa chain began expanding operations in Canada in 1971 until 1986, when it moved its focus back to the United States during the Ronald Reagan era boom years. In doing so, 36 Canadian Ponderosa locations were acquired by the General Mills Restaurant Group. General Mills immediately converted them to Red Lobster restaurants. Bonanza, on the other hand, continued to operate its locations in Canada. By the mid-80s, however, the chain was beginning to face problems once again. failing to change with the public interest in healthier foods such as chicken and fish. The menus seemed dated and the establishments became old and worn. In 1985, a year after fighting off a takeover from Hickory Farms, Ponderosa faced another takeover attempt by third-ranking Bonanza. While the offer of $154.8 million was 10% over the Ponderosa's stock price, the board of directors rejected the offer. The legal defense was costly, but the company managed to fend off all competitors. In February 1988, Ponderosa was sold to Metromedia Restaurant Group. In September 1989, they purchased the Bonanza and what seemed like the dynamic duo of low-cost steakhouse empires, combining the two chains under the Metromedia Family Steakhouses organization to be marketed under the Ponderosa or Bonanza brands. MFS was one of founder John Kluge's companies using the Metromedia name. While they had similar themes and objectives, the two companies couldn't be more different from a corporate standpoint. Ponderosa was mostly company-owned buildings concentrated in the Midwestern United States, while the Bonanza was nearly an entirely franchise-owned business mainly in the South and Southwest. As a matter of fact, the company itself only owned 2 locations in its entire network. Later the same year, Metromedia then scooped up competitor S and the restaurants which operated the Steak and Ale brand of Steakhouses and the Bennigan's family restaurant chain. Bonanza franchisees feared that the acquiring company Ponderosa through Metromedia would phase out their Bonanza name and took legal action. Several incorporated into a large franchise association and others brought lawsuits. After much legal wrangling, several major Bonanza owners eventually converted to the Ponderosa brand. It was not made mandatory by Metromedia to change, it was just highly suggested. The profitability of each chain was based on the fluctuating price of American beef and a very price-conscious customer base. When the United States dipped into a recession in the early 1990s, business went into a steep decline. The Ponderosa had more locations than any other American steakhouse chain, but management shakeups and declining profits saw sales fall behind revenue, a leading restaurant The Sizzler by over $100 million. The two chains struggled along through the post-9/11 recession, but after its S&A Restaurant Group division was forced into an involuntary Chapter 7 liquidation by its lender GE Capital in August 2008 and closed over 300 company-owned Bennigan's and Steak and Ale restaurants, the chain's parent company. Metromedia Steakhouses Company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2008, although it planned to reorganize around franchise operations and a profitable core of company-operated restaurants. It emerged from bankruptcy in 2009 under the name Homestyle Dining LLC. The chain engaged Trinity Capital LLC as its financial advisor in 2016 and was sold in late 2017 to Fat Brands, who owns Fatburger, Buffalo's Cafe and Hurricane Grill and Wings. Hurricane Grill and Wings has over 300 restaurants open, with 300 in development and hope for the future of Bonanza. And Ponderosa is bright, although with 2020 COVID-19 buffets may not fare so well because of the public reluctance to readily eat at a buffet. You may want to stop in at the Ponderosa or the Bonanza before it's too late. If you can still find one before they fade away from the American landscape.
I discovered a Bonanza.
That's right. When you come to Bonanza in Gulfport, you'll discover a bonanza of good things to eat for the whole family.
We discovered a Bonanza.
From our guaranteed great steak,
Now that's a Bonanza.
to our famous Bonanza salad bar, to the best service in town.
What a Bonanza.
Discover a Bonanza. Discover.
I discovered a Bonanza.
Courthouse Road in Gulfport.
My adorable wife and I come to Ponderosa because the price is so right.
No, we don't.
We also come because they have free refills on coffee and Coca-Cola.
No, we don't.
Because of the all-you-can-eat salad bar.
We come, adorable husband, because the steaks are delicious. Tender, juicy, and cooked just the way you like them. They're great.
No, they're not. They're greater than great.
They're superb.
They're stupendous.
They're fantastic.
Applause, applause for the great steaks at Ponderosa.
If you have any fond memories, please indicate it at the comments below. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and like.